how did you arrive at what you wanted?
That's a very interesting question. I remember when I graduated from University of Ibadan, I'd wanted to join the Nigerian police force.
I don't think I can. I don't think I can imagine you as a police officer.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
How was growing up for Muyiwa Ariyo?
I grew up in a home where my dad was quite firm. Discipline was the hallmark of the day, but at the same time, he allowed us to thrive. He allowed us to have a mind of our own. And for me in particular, because I'm the first. So very quickly, I developed that knack for leadership.
You said you started business when you were 17, 18.
Yeah, my first stint at trying to do something was about that age. Yeah.
Yeah. So how old were you when you made your first million?
My first million.
Yeah.
Well,
Why is it so long ago?
well, I think first millions would be in my. If I'm not wrong now, that would be my late 20s.
Okay.
Towards my early 30s. Yeah.
What did you do? Was it a job or like a business you started?
No, we're working, and then the market afforded us a lot of opportunities. So we could do trades. The stock market was interesting. We took advantage of the market. Well, took advantage of the market. We saw opportunities in the market, and we always ensured that I applied myself appropriately to be able to ride on the positivity that was coming from the market at the time. So we made some good sums at the time.
I feel like you're being modest about the song good song. I feel like you made a lot of money, but
it wasn't a lot. When you look at it now, it wasn't a lot. But then it was still good enough.
Okay. Did you get affected by the 2008 crash, by the way? Because I know a couple of people I know I've spoken to in like the Nigerian markets. They lost quite a bit of money.
Maybe from a corporate perspective, in the sense that, of course, I had portfolios that I was managing at the time that were affected a bit. But personally, not much, because again, like we spoke about when we started this conversation, you need to switch as quick when you can see reality. So for a lot of people, the crash then, it was more of people saw it coming. It started gradually. And then, for a lot of people, they just wanted, they thought, okay, let's wait it out. Let's wait it out. And then let's wait it out, move from 10% loss to 20% loss. Let's wait it out. 30% loss. Let's wait it out. 40% loss.
Yeah.
Let's wait it out. 50% loss. At that point, for some people, it was a case of, what do we do? And some just left it to go down the drain. I think for me, whatever I had at the time, by the time I was getting to 20%, just pulled out. Whatever I had left, just put it out at the time, and then, deploy the money into other things. But, so I wasn't that affected really, because I was able to exit the market early. But of course, I saw a lot of, some clients that, got affected. Again, for some of them, despite the advice to say, well, pull out, some of them will tell you, especially the ones that are non-discretionary, portfolios that we're managing at the time. Some of them said no. They wanted to see where it would get. Unfortunately, it didn't go well for some. Yeah. I know one or two people that, over the years, they've been able to recoup the losses, and then, of course, gone back into the green area.
Okay. Yes. Speaking of finance and business, you co-founded and are currently the DMD of this what I'll describe as a multi-billionaire business. How did you scale out? Right? Because I feel like saying, how did you start? Yeah, there's the story of that. But more interestingly, how did you build it to get to the point where it is right now?
So I am a partner, of course, AB. When we saw the opportunity to buy Mainstreet Capital, then it was just a small entity but we saw the potentials. We saw where it could lead to. And we knew that with concerted effort, dedication, commitment to it, we believe that we would get where we wanted to get to. And would we say we've arrived where we want to be? Maybe not yet. Certainly not yet. But are we on the journey to getting there? Certainly, yes. So when we came in, we come from our experience having worked at Greenwich, which was one of the best investment banking firms around at the time. And the experience we garnered there, the relationship we had with our MD at the time, who we worked with very closely, we were able to bring that on board when we got into Mainstreet Capital. And I think that that is what we've held on to. And of course, the learnings we took from there, been able to bring it to the fore in MCL. And I think that's what has really been helping us to move forward. Yes, of course, the challenges are always there. But, the spirit of it can be done is always there to push us, move these challenges.
But why leave Greenwich in the first place? Because you said it was one of the top investment banking firms around at the time. You had a really good relationship with your CEO. That sounds like a great work situation to be in. Why take that risk? Because it was a big risk. I mean, it is a big risk.
It was a big risk. I must say to you, I remember the first time my close friends, heard that I was leaving Greenwich. One or two of them called me and sat with me and asked me if I was okay, because they were wondering why I was taking that leap, why I was trying to jump. And I was, at the time, I'd been the ED for a couple of years, and I'd seen it all. It was a very interesting place. That's the truth. It was a very interesting place, and I would always say, in fact, I remember if sometime in December they had their 30th year anniversary, and I remember that I had an interview similar to this kind of conversation. I was the organizers, had a chat with me, and I remember that I said to them, if we didn't come to MCL, if we didn't buy MCL, the tendency was that I could have gone back to Greenwich. The probability was very high that I could have gone back to Greenwich. If this didn't happen, if MCL didn't happen, certainly I could not have worked for any other person, for any other entity. So if it wasn't MCL, it could still have been Greenwich. That's the honest truth. We had, I and AB both had a beautiful time working there. And we learned a lot. We learned a lot there. And it was a fantastic time. But it just gets to a time in life where you say, well, you need to move. Again, just to see the world, see how things are done, face challenges of life. I at the time said to myself that I needed to take that leap and let me see how it was going to go then. And here we are.
What mind frame do you need to have? Because now we know that, yes, you've mentioned the greater determination, but when you think about taking on the risk of one, leaving the comforts, to the financial risk, because buying a company, like MCL, it wasn't chump change. I'm sure yourself and EB took on significant financial risk to do that. How do you now not let that affect your mindset in the day to day? Because it's possible to now start to, I guess, run in from a place of fear to say, okay, I beg, I have done this, let this company not fail. How do you prevent that from, really, really messing up your mindset when you're running the business?
Fear is not, I don't even do well with fear. I don't. So whether in business, whether in my personal life, whether in anything, I do not allow fear to rule my mind at all. The moment you allow fear to set in, then decisions become altered. Decisions get affected because you have fear. Of course, in life, you get to a point you ask questions, deep questions. Should I? Should I not? Shouldn't I? You start asking yourself those personal questions. To other people, that's a stage of fear. But for you, it's not about fear. It's so much about the fact that you need to ask yourself some critical questions, hard questions. And you must tell yourself that, well, you must be able to give positive answers to those questions, not just by words, but by actions. For me, most importantly, when I wake up every morning and I come into this office space and I see people, that's the strength that I need to say, well, we have something working and we must continue to push for it to get better. The aspiration is that someday we're able to get to a point where, let's say, we're retiring from MCL and people here are able to take up the mantle of leadership and continue to move it to the next level. So we must work hard to give that, positive mind to even others working with us, to our colleagues, to our partners in this business. So the idea of fear cannot even set in, because the moment it sets in, then it begins to affect decisions, it begins to affect deliverables. So rather than fear, we face challenges. Challenges would come, but we face those challenges and we find a way to get around them. That's life.
But then most people that are scared, they're afraid of failure, right? And they say you can't get to the top without failing once or twice. Is there any ways that maybe in the business or in the corporate world you failed or you faced failure, and how did you handle it?
In the course of this business, we've had things transactions that haven't gone well, and some of them have thrown great challenges to us. However, because they're what they are, the challenges. So again, in your preparation, you must leave room for some of these things. What matters is to build a system that can withstand some of these challenges. Ensure there is good corporate governance. Ensure that you have the right team members. Ensure that you are able to see through things. And to also if you have the right people around you and there are challenges, it's not your burden alone. You have other people who share the burden with you, and it makes it lighter. When fear sets in, even those around you see it. If you're not careful, then you affect the positive-minded ones around you because you're scared, and they consider you're scared. When you see that you have a captain who fears no death, it's coming to war with the mind that it's either we live or we die. In fact, let's start from the zero, which is that we are going to die. Well, let's die gallantly. Let's die like heroes. So you're going to face the battle with a positive mind. But when you go in there with the mind that I have to leave, I cannot die, I have my wife at home, I've got children at home, they should have come for the war in the first instance. If they're not careful, the tendency that you may never go back home.
That's a bit, So now, because I've heard that it's, for a lot of people, it's the will to live that causes them to fight harder.
You see, the point is that when you come in and you see, when the man who comes to you, You know what they always say when you're dealing with someone who has nothing to lose.
Hmm.
You know you're already disadvantaged. When you're facing someone who has nothing to lose, he has nothing to lose. He's going to come at you with everything he's got. But somewhere inside of him, the
Yeah.
will to leave is there. But at the time he's facing that battle, he's coming to that battle with mind of what I have to lose. Which when you come in with the mind that, oh, I must leave, I must leave, instead from the will to leave. They're two different things.
Oh, okay.
The will to leave is your inner mind that's holding you. I must leave. It's just what you're saying to yourself, out of here.
I never thought about it that way. But then, what if you do have something to lose? I mean, I assume that going into business now, you have, with where you are in life, you have a lot to lose.
Absolutely.
So, what mindset do you now have going in?
Like I told you earlier on, when you get to a certain age, even when we're marketing our clients, we profile them, we ask questions, and you will notice that in most cases, the products you sell to someone who is over 65, 70, it's not the same product you sell to someone who is 25, 30. Because the man who is 30 years still has a lot to recover. He has a lot of years to recover from whatever shock. The man who is 70 can just have a heart attack and that's the end. Of one news, the same news that he would hear, and the same news that a 30 years old man would hear. A 70-year-old man can just go and that's the end. Yeah, so of course, as you run businesses, people's lives depend on the actions you take or your inactions.
Sounds like pressure.
You're leading people who look up to you.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that in the business world, you get to a certain level, you have a lot to lose. If you're in a team and you're perhaps the youngest on the team, and also maybe perhaps in terms of the level, you're probably on the lowest level, your responsibility there is limited because you know that you have a lot of people, I have like 4 or 5 people I'm working with who are way ahead of me, so they will take the decisions. But if you're on the top of the ladder in that group, then you're not just looking out for yourself, you're looking out for all those who work with you. So of course, the pressure is there. But what you don't let it do is that when you now have challenges come up, and then you now immediately allow fear to set in, and it becomes very obvious to you that, then of course, you're going to disturb a lot of things without you even knowing it. But when you take on these things with a positive mind, then you encourage others around you just to look at it from that perspective. Right. So that's it.
So, say you've overcome fear, right? I think overcoming fear might be just one aspect of success. Because earlier you said you were at Greenwich and you had a fantastic career at Greenwich, and I'm sure there are a lot of other people who wanted to have a fantastic career, but you rose above them, because maybe you were better than them, you shine brighter than they did. How do you now distinguish yourself, in the corporate space or wherever you find yourself, in life and in business?
In a top-notch organization, they would not bring the dregs of the world to come and work for them. They're going to try to look for the top-notch people that add value to the business. So you must then begin to see yourself in that place that, you know what, we're all
Smart.
almost a par.
Yeah.
What would discern you from the other person? What would bring out the difference between you and the next person? Your ability to think out of the box is your ability to do things in a different way from what others would normally do. You're going to disrupt the system positively. You're going to have to come into that place and they must see you as a value addition to the entity. Because if all you're doing is to do the basic, you'll find a lot of people, your colleagues, who are also doing just the basic. So you remain just among them. You're just going to be one of the others. So in an organization, what will propel you higher is your ability to do things differently. And time in, time out, more often than not, you come up with brilliant ideas, you come up with brilliant solutions that can aid that business, that can move the business forward. You don't have a choice. If you're in today's business world, otherwise you just be one of the others, really, just one of the others. And even as a business, for you to forge ahead and be ahead of competition, you must continuously think of doing things in a different way. We're not saying tear the books completely. No. But build on the books, look at what people have done, and then see how you can be different. Because why should anybody recognize you? Why should anybody come to do business with you? They could do business with Mr. A or Mr. B. The reason they should be coming to you is that you're giving them values beyond what Mr. A or Mr. B is giving to them. And they build relationships from there.
What happens when people don't respond positively to the disruptions you try to bring? What if you try to come up with ideas and maybe the management goes, we don't really want to do that, but in your heart of hearts, you know this could work, right? How do you navigate those kind of situations?
More often than not, when you come up with new ideas, when you come up with changes, we always say change is constant. But no, it's just a thing that we say. But in reality, change is the most difficult thing to do. Because when people are used to certain ways of doing things and you bring in changes, at times it's not always palatable. In most cases, you're changing the way of life, you're changing the way they think, you're changing the way they see things. And some of those changes will affect them either directly or indirectly. So what you're going to get is pushback initially. But when there's a pushback, it's natural. So when you're bringing positive disruption, you must be aware that there will be pushbacks. You just must be aware. Because if you come with the idea that, oh, everybody's going to accept what I'm bringing, then you're deceiving yourself. You must understand that when you're bringing these new ideas, people would push back. People would say no. Some people would not even have, they won't even read what you're bringing. They don't want to read through it. Just because it's going to affect their day-to-day activities and the way they do things. The first response you would get is a no, 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 no. And then, but if you're persistent, you're consistent, you keep sending the message, you give them scenario plays for them to see how what you're bringing would affect them and how eventually it's going to add value to everyone. You gradually start winning over people. You're not going to win everybody, trust me. You're not going to win over everybody. But you begin to win over people who will then see that, okay, truly, if we do this, then we're likely to get better in life. People would adjust to it.
So how would you say, Mainstreet Capital, of the firm you co-founded, is standing out? Because I've heard that the finance space is a commodity business. Well, in the way that Warren Buffett defines commodity businesses and franchise businesses, right? Where rates are king. Right? So if rates across the board are similar, or even if you are in that kind of situation in your business where maybe you sell a certain product that is very similar to other products and they are similarly priced, how do you stand out then?
Our business, I'm talking systemic now. Industry, to one, we're all on the same road. All on the same road. And a couple of years ago, we came up with the slogan, take the right turn.
Yeah.
Because we realized that we're all on the same road. We just have different shops at different corners of the street. But for Mainstreet Capital, I decided to take the right turn. The essence of taking the right turn is that you want to point your clients, we want to point our clients in directions that they haven't seen before now. And this would go into product placement, relationships, trust, uh, integrity, such that your clients can go to bed knowing they have a relationship with you. And we run a system where we're quite available to our clients, whether corporate or individual. At very short notices, we're available to get things done for them. So for us, take the right turn is not just with the word of mouth. This we try to exhibit in our deliverables, our actions, our relationship, and in the fact that we ensure that integrity is top notch, so that we have the trust of our clients, and we've succeeded with that to a very large extent. To a very large extent.
But then, I mean, if we're being honest, we live in a country where trust and integrity isn't always rewarded. You know, in a lot of situations in this country. Are there situations where being integrous in business actually has negative consequences?
And there you have it, the story of how Muyiwa climbed up the career ladder and started his business. Do any of the lessons resonate with you? Tell us in the comments. We'd like to hear from you. But we're not done. We have one more episode coming out, so stay tuned for that. And as always, stay safe in the markets.